Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is a companion video. What are companion videos? Well, I'm awfully glad that you asked. See, every day on the John Campea Show, we save time to take some live questions. But quite often, we don't have time to get around to all the live questions that get sent in. But I want to make sure that all those questions that get sent in get answered in a video. So I gather them up and we address them here in companion videos. And today is Thursday, April the 18th. So these are the questions that we had left over from the John Campea Show earlier today. So let's not waste any time and dive right into it. And the first question we're going to start getting caught up on today comes to us from Jeff Crow, who writes, when will the next best movie, worst movie be uploaded? Well, thanks a lot for the question. Yeah, we didn't upload one this week. Their next one is going to be uploaded on Monday. So, and thank you so much for that. For those of you who don't know, best movie, I got a graphic here actually. How fortuitous. Best movie, worst movie is, of course, the new podcast from me, Robert Meyer Burnett, and Olympic gold medalist Cody Miller, who is also a diehard film fanatic. And we have a lot of fun on that podcast. There's already a few episodes up. Next episode gets uploaded on Monday. Thanks for asking about it, Jeff. All right, next question comes to us from Chad's Big Huge Geek Commentary, who writes, wrote my first short and got excited to shoot it until I found out my 15-minute short would be $3,000 in 3 days of shooting. That's the thing. Now look, you can shoot a 15-minute movie by getting your phone, pointing it at a couple of your friends, hitting record, and 15 minutes later hit end, and there you've got a 15-minute short. But yeah, it is, a lot of people get kind of surprised when they realize just how much goes into making something. It's a lot, and it does cost a little bit of money. So I'm sure you've already got that down to as cheap as you can. I hope you're able to scrounge together. I mean, there's some great stuff. Kevin Smith tells some great stories about how, like, his first feature film, he signed up for 6 credit cards, maxed them all out, did all this kind of nonsense. I'm not suggesting doing that, but scrape it together, man, and make it happen, and I hope you're able to achieve it, dude. But yeah, it takes more time and money than people realize to make these things. All right, Murray Reich writes, what an episode last week on Supernatural. Jack has become in these past episodes the Dark Phoenix. Wonder how season finale will end. Yeah, I have no idea. You know, a while ago, somebody asked me if I think Jack will be alive at the end of the season, and it's going to be a tragedy, but I don't think he is. I mean, I don't know that. I don't know anything. I'm just guessing as a fan, but I'm starting to suspect he won't be, and that was a really good episode. I always like it when Rowena pops up in an episode as well, so I thought it was quite good, and I think they're going to take him out because I don't think he's going to play a role in the final season. So I think he dies in this season finale. I don't know that. I'm kind of hoping he doesn't, but I think they might kill him off. Zachary Buckler writes, keeping my fingers crossed that we see Nymeria, that's the wolf, I think, this season, over under 20%. Yes, so she and Ghost have a role to play in the Battle of Winterfell. Yes, they are both dire wolves. I don't know. I mean, they just kind of disappeared, right? Now, here's the thing about the Battle of Winterfell. These things can only be killed by fire and with dragon glass and Valyrian steel, apparently. So I don't know what a wolf is going to do other than get killed and get turned. So I don't know. I'm with you though, Zachary. I do hope they make an appearance this season, but I don't know what use they would be at the Battle of Winterfell considering how you kill these things. I don't know, but maybe there's some other magic attachment. We'll find out. But I certainly hope they do. So I'm going to say under 20% that they play a role in the Battle of Winterfell, although it would be pretty cool if they did. Jedi Lori writes, but John, Mark Ruffalo already recently gave the solution to Endgame bathroom breaks, adult diapers. That seems to be the general consensus, Jedi Lori, is adult diapers. Everybody start saving up, get them together, because you're going to need some adult diapers for the 3-hour movie. Patrick Conway writes, over under 5%. Hank and Janet will lead an army of giant Wakandan armored ants against Thanos in the final battle of Endgame. I can tell you're being facetious, Patrick, but I'm going to take the under 5%. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see that happen, unfortunately. You know what? I still think there is a possibility Thanos is not a player in this movie after the first act. I don't know that. I don't even feel certain about that. It's just wild guess as a fan. But I think he might be done in the first act of the film. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Maya Demi writes, by the way, regarding babysitting, seeing Endgame at 11:40 a.m., 2:40 a.m. in California, I guess. Paid vacation from work, no babysitter needed. Over under 50%. Endgame discussion over 12 hours. Woo! Yeah, because the Infinity War spoiler discussion, when you add up how long we did the original live stream and then like the 7 companion videos we had to do attached to it just to get through all the questions that came in during the live stream, it probably gets close to 10 hours. It probably gets close to 10 hours. Maybe 9, but it gets close. I'm going to take over 50% that we'll have more than 12 hours of discussion on Endgame. I'm going to take over 50% on that. I don't know that. I mean, it terrifies me. It could be a lot of fun too, but I'm going to go over 12 hours on that. That's my guess. All right. Troy Strauss writes, the new Hobbs and Shaw trailer equals, oh my God, LOL, oh my God. I liked it a lot. I'm not saying it's the best trailer of the year, but I thought this trailer brought the bang. You know what I mean? It had some smiles. It brought everything that we've come to expect from any sort of Fast and Furious movie, which is a lot of excitement mixed with a good dose of silliness, a little bit of ridiculousness, and some laughs. You pull that off, you've got what has become the last few Fast and Furious movies, and they work. And I think when you're adding Jason Statham and The Rock to that mix and putting them front and center, I think that can just play up even more. So yeah, I really like the trailer myself, Troy. Jingle Jesus writes, Jim Carrey is a lucky man. Who could you choose to be Ace Ventura with Courtney Cox? Courtney Cox. The Mask with Cameron Diaz. Oh, Cameron Diaz in The Mask. And Bruce Almighty with Jennifer Aniston. Yep. Jim Carrey had himself a pretty good run. Had himself a pretty damn good run, not just with his career in general, but also with the leading ladies he got to play. I'll tell you what, Courtney Cox was my celebrity crush for a while, and then Cameron Diaz, because of The Mask, was also a bit of my celebrity crush for a while. And Jennifer Aniston's just Jennifer Aniston. I mean, so, yep, Jim Carrey certainly had a really good run there for a bit. Thanks for writing that in, Jingle. All right. Ian J. Walker writes, I just want enough physical media to fill an accent wall. Then I will go digital. Love you guys, and the show makes the morning bearable. Well, thanks so much for that, Ian. I really appreciate that. And hey, the great thing is, if all you want to do is fill an accent wall, the reality is you can hop on Craigslist, eBay, whatever, buy a bunch of B movies for like $4 or $5, and you can get like 200 or 300 of them pretty cheap and pretty quick. Now, if you want an actual DVD wall of movies you actually do pull out and watch once in a while, take your time. You've got some time, but the cost of DVDs and Blu-rays may start getting a little bit more expensive as they start to become a little bit more rare. Now, for the next year or two, you're fine. But after that, you might get in trouble. So if you want to do that, you might want to start getting that collection together pretty soon. Anyway, thanks for watching, man. We're glad you come along for us in the mornings. All right. Frankie Gouge writes, Endgame spoilers. Uh-oh. 1 second. All right. Oh, I see. Endgame spoilers. Snape kills Thanos for talking about Fight Club. Doesn't matter. Thanos was dead already for the entire film. And at the end, Thanos falls to his knees. You really did it, you maniacs, you blew it up. So Snape, the Harry Potter, talking about Fight Club is Fight Club. Doesn't matter, Thanos was dead the entire film, 6 cents. And at the end, Thanos followed. That's Planet of the Apes. Man, you really put a lot of work into putting all those different little meme analogies into one big thing. So Snape kills Thanos for talking about Fight Club. Doesn't matter, Thanos was dead already the entire film. And at the end, Thanos falls to his knees. You finally really did it, you maniacs, you blew it up. That is Planet of the Apes, is it not? I think it is. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Anyway, thanks for sending that in, Frankie. Okay, Alan Gonzalez writes, do you think we will see Thoraxia Girl Thanos? Do you mean Turaxia? If you're talking about Thoraxia, I honestly don't know who we're talking about. That's might be one I'm not familiar with. I know in the Infinity Gauntlet, he created Turaxia for, to be his love and all that kind of stuff. And I think she dies at the end of it. At any rate, so I'm familiar with Turaxia, who looked a lot like Thanos and was kind of his love, but I'm not familiar with Thoraxia. If you guys know what that reference is, please let me know. Jump down in the comment section. Let me know. Thanks for that, Alan. All right. T-Nest93 writes, I heard something about Warner Media about Warner Media app might affect the DC Universe app when it rolls out. Could this affect my subscription, or is this bootleg in my IMFO? I don't know what that means. There aren't reports, but there is speculation going around that Warner Media, who is getting ready to launch their own streaming service, and they're going to have a hell of a lot of content. They've got a big library. Warner Media has a huge library. There is a train of thought right now that Warner Media may have decided to change directions and make their Warner Media streaming service as rich as possible by folding in the DC content into the Warner Media app instead. So there has been that talk and there has been that discussion. As a film fan and as a content fan, that would be best for us, because it would be more expensive at the end of the day for us to pay for a DC streaming service and to pay for a Warner streaming service. It would be more. Because imagine, look, Disney is doing Disney Plus at $7 a month. But if they had Disney Plus and Marvel Plus, so the Marvel stuff wasn't on Disney Plus, but you had Marvel Plus as a separate thing, well, now we'd be paying double, right? It would seem to me as a content fan that I would love it if they shut down the DC streaming service and just folded it into the Warner service so I can get everything. You know what I mean? But then again, let me be clear. There are not reports saying that's happening. There's speculation going. There are people wondering if that's what's going to happen for good reason. But there hasn't been any official word. There hasn't been any official announcement. There hasn't been anything even remotely official to suggest that's actually what's happening. So let's wait and see. But quite frankly, I don't think it's something to be worried about. I think it would be something to be excited about, personally. But we'll see. All right. Christian writes, love how you handled the toxic progressive comment in the recent Star Wars vid. Earned you a new fan, subscriber, and $5. You are a mensch, sir. Well, thank you so much, Christian. I think I remember the comment you're talking about. And look, there are people... The fact of the matter is this. Star Wars had no political agenda. The Force Awakens had no political agenda. The Last Jedi had no political agenda. And the fact of the matter is, when I had a discussion with this one guy I know, who was like, it was all about that movie was just about pushing female power over men. I'm like, okay, time out. Point to me one scene, just one in The Force Awakens or in The Last Jedi where Rey's gender as being an issue is ever mentioned. Like in the Supergirl TV show, before I stopped watching it because of the way they treated Superman, there are tons of times where I'm a girl and I can do it because I'm a girl. I got no problem with that. I'm just saying they have a lot of those speeches that we women can do this too and blah, blah, blah. Like there's lots of those things in there. And again, I got no problem with it. I don't know why anybody would have a problem with it. What's your agenda if you have a problem with it? But at any rate, I have no problem with it. But see, you could point to Supergirl and say, oh, there's tons of that in Supergirl. Point to me one time, just once, just one example of any dialogue, any time in The Force Awakens or in The Last Jedi where there's any mention of, well, I'm a woman and I've got to show them that women can do it too. Anything like that. Not once. I've said this before. I will say it again. There are lots of people who don't like The Last Jedi just because for them it wasn't a good movie. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what being a film fan is. So we like some movies, we don't like some others. There are Star Wars movies I don't like. So there are people who don't like The Last Jedi just because it didn't work for them as a movie. That's fine. However, anybody who points to The Last Jedi and says there's a political issue, they're the ones with a political agenda. because there's nothing in those movies that have a girl going, I can do it because I'm a girl. There's none of that. That doesn't exist in the movie. It just so happens that the lead character just happens to be a woman. That's it. And there are some really insecure little man babies who just can't handle that a woman's in the lead. Now, again, what is tremendously unfair and what has happened is that there are the majority of people who don't like The Last Jedi just don't like it because it's just not a good movie. It has nothing to do with gender or politics or none of that nonsense. Most people who didn't like The Last Jedi simply didn't like it because it didn't work for them as a movie. Nothing wrong with that. But there are some people, and we hear from them all the time, there are some people who try to make a political agenda out of it because they bring a political agenda to it, and that's just nonsense. But again, I defy anybody. Show me one line that was an explicit reference, like they did all the time in Supergirl, that was an explicit reference that I can do it because I'm a woman, and that I can do it just as good as a man. Show me one time in any of those movies that does that. It doesn't. Therefore, if you're claiming political agenda in those movies, I would strongly suggest you're the one with the political agenda. And I stand by that. So anyway, but again, that's not to say you should like The Last Jedi if you didn't. Like I said, the Star Wars movies I don't like. So if you didn't like it, you didn't like it. But anybody who says there was a political agenda there, 99% chance that they're the one with the political agenda. Just my kind of thought on that. Anyway, let's see. Roman Bryant writes, what the hell is a gigawatt? Oh, that's one of the great moments from Back to the Future. The reason I know that, and I remember that off the top of my head, is because there was a YouTube video that kind of like made a techno mix out of that, and I remember that one. So yeah, what the hell is a gigawatt? Anyway, let's see. Hudson Smith writes, hey John, watch the game with Michael Douglas. Ooh, love that movie. Over the weekend, I really enjoyed it. In my opinion, one of Douglas's best performances. Thoughts? Yeah, Sean Penn. First of all, you got Michael Douglas and Sean Penn. So there's an acting powerhouse right there. Those are two acting powerhouses. So you got just a juggernaut of acting talent in this movie. And it is a movie that kept you guessing the whole time. Wait a minute, is this a part of the game or is it not? Is this wait a minute, did he really die? It was so well done, and it's such a mind twist. I really enjoy it. Was it one of Douglas's best performances? It's tough. It's tough because when you go back over the movies, I mean, he's an Academy Award winner, right? Like for Wall Street. I mean, how can you not say Wall Street? How can you not say, oh, the one he's in with Glenn Close where he has the affair with her? What? It's his most famous movie, and I'm freezing on it. Hold on a second here. His most famous movie, and I'm freezing on it. Okay, it was. I'm just kicking myself. Fatal Attraction. Of course. Why was I freezing on Fatal Attraction? Anywhere. So Fatal Attraction or Basic Instinct, right? There are those as well. But the game is terrific, and it has to be ranked as one of his best performances. I don't know if I'd say it's his absolute best performance. It's hard to go against Wall Street, but it is ranks right up there, and it's a really fun movie. Wave Wonder writes, Transformers producer says Transformers 6 is canceled. I don't ever think it was ever really a thing. I think he just spoke out of turn previously. I don't honestly think it was ever a thing in the first place. Darth Suthius writes, hey guys, as much as I missed the OG panel, that was Mr. C, I guess that's me, Amy and Dennis, just missed Catching Roth. My favorite panel has got to be me, Christian, Mark, and Schnepp. You guys had great chemistry. Those were good days. We did have good chemistry, and those were really, really good days. I really enjoyed that time with those guys. I mean, obviously, Schnepp has passed away now, but I loved it. Those were good times, and really, really a real talented group of guys that I had a chance of working with. I have had, you just mentioned a lot of them, like from Dennis, obviously, who I think is the smartest guy in this business, Amy Rose, Roth, obviously Christian, Mark, people, and there were many, many others. I've had the privilege in my career to work with some really, really talented people. And I think one of the things that I do best is that I'm able to identify really talented people and bring them together and figure out when dynamics will work well. And I think I've gotten lucky a little bit. And yeah, those were great days. But I'm telling you what, I'm also absolutely loving my current phase. I'm loving working with Robert Meyer Burnett every day. He's just, I mean, obviously John Schnepp introduced us. I'm loving working with Robert. And of course, we've got Ashley, who I think is a really great addition to the show as well. So I'm really enjoying where we're at right now. But anyway, thanks for that, Darth Suthius, for the little walk down memory lane. Marcus Robert Johnson writes, the bullies in Shazam reminded me of Butch and Woim I remember Butch. I don't remember the other kid. Anyway, from the Little Rascals, what's worse, getting a movie spoiled or getting a pay-per-view fight spoiled? Ooh. I'm going to be in the minority here. I think getting a pay-per-view fight spoiled. I think getting a big UFC pay-per-view fight spoiled for me. Like if I, for whatever reason, can't watch it live and I've got to watch it a little bit later, getting that spoiled I think is even worse. I'm okay with spoilers in movies to a degree. I mean, some are worse than others, absolutely. And all other things being equal, I'd rather not hear spoilers. But if I do, it doesn't ruin a movie for me. But yeah, man, I do not like, I hate it when I find out the result of a fight before I watch it, Marcus. I absolutely hate it. James Wheeler writes, good morning, Ashley, John, and Rob. Ashley, if you enjoyed 400 Blows, make sure to check out True Thoughts, Jules, and Jim. I'm not even familiar with that, to be honest with you. But I will make sure I pass it. You know, I'm going to copy and paste your message here, and I'll text it off to Ashley to make sure she gets that recommendation from you, James. Thanks for sending that in, man. James Meister25 writes, started an MCU marathon last Thursday, got to phase 3 in a week. That's impressive. Should be able to finish the last 9 minus Captain Marvel in time. Nothing is impossible. Okay, that's cool as long as you've already seen Captain Marvel. Because clearly Captain Marvel is going to be a significant player, in Avengers Endgame. So if you haven't seen Captain Marvel yet, you do want to make sure you watch that. But I have a feeling you've probably already seen it already and you're just kind of rewatching them all. And in that case, you're fine because you just saw Captain Marvel recently, so you should be good. But that's an impressive streak of movies in a short amount of time, Meister. All right. Good old Uncle Sidious writes, oh my God, second Hobbs and Shaw trailer brought the boom. It absolutely brought the boom, brought the giggles, brought the ridiculousness. I'm looking forward to this. I really enjoyed that trailer today. Jeffrey Podolsky writes, over under 15%, Warwick Davis reprises his role as Wicket to guide the heroes to the second Death Star wreckage. Here's the problem. I'm going to take under 15% on that, and here's the problem. Everybody is assuming, and I've addressed this before, everybody's assuming that if that is the second Death Star, oh, that must be Endor that is crashed on. That's not true. When the Death Star explodes, a whole big, huge percentage of the Death Star would have blown away from Endor, which means they would have just kept flying through space until they hit a planet. So there's a part of the Death Star that would have blown and gone down towards Endor, but a lot of it just would have blown out into the emptiness of space and then just kept going. So I'm not convinced that that's Endor they're on. I don't necessarily think that. So I'm going to take the under 15%. Now, it very well could be. It very well could be. But I don't think it is, so I'm going to take the under 15% on that. Jacob King writes, we're all overthinking this Palpatine thing. He was obviously in the Soul Stone. Again, going back, what's the comedian's name? I'm looking at his face in my head right now. The guy who did the voice of Ratatouille. I love this comedian. Why am I freezing on his name? Sorry. That was the voice of Patton Oswalt. I love Patton. Why did I freeze on Patton Oswalt's name? Anyway, Patton Oswalt on Parks and Rec did this epic, super long spiel and rant on the theory of crossing over Star Wars with the MCU. So you just kind of did it right there, Jacob. Jorge Sosa writes, welcome to the Ipic clan. Yeah, I talked this morning. If you didn't see this morning's show, I talked this morning about how last night I went to an Ipic Theater for the first time. Wonderful experience. It's expensive. But it was a wonderful experience. The picture isn't as good as, say, an AMC Prime Theater. The sound isn't as good as like an AMC Prime Theater. But just the overall experience was really wonderful. It was a really wonderful experience. But you pay a premium for it. It is expensive. But I had a really good time at it. I think Ann and I are going to go back. And obviously, the AMC Prime is my home theater. I'm going to that way more than anything else. But I think maybe once a month or so, Ann and I might go check out that Ipic Theater because I really had a good time at it, Jorge. Woody writes, we got this covered, said their source claims that Marvel Disney are getting a She-Hulk series together for Disney+. I would love this, but how reliable are they? Your thoughts, if true. Here's the thing about we got this covered. They are hit and miss. Now, that means that sometimes they're hit. I've seen some things broken on We've Got This Covered that did come to pass. However, I've seen them spew a lot of nonsense on that channel, on that page as well. So we got this covered. You know, there's a bunch of outlets where as soon as they say something, I instantly reject it. There are some outlets that if they say it, I take it as money in the bank. Then there are some that are kind of in the middle of that. And I'm not talking crap on anybody. You just asked me my opinion. I'm giving it to you. We got this covered for me as one of those kind of in the middle. I neither take it at face value, nor do I instantly reject it out of hand. Because they are hit and miss. I've seen them hit. I've seen them miss. Almost an equal share. So I wouldn't take it too seriously, but I would file it away in the back of my head and just remember it. I'd remember it. I still think there is a problem. See, She-Hulk is a derivative character of Hulk. And there are distribution issues with Universal when it comes to Hulk and probably anything in the Hulk world. So I have my doubts that this is true, but it doesn't mean it's not. So yeah, that's kind of where I would be on this, Woody, is I would neither take it as true, but I wouldn't instantly just reject it as blatant BS. I wouldn't do that either. So file it away, but I wouldn't get too excited about it just yet. So let's see what happens. So you see if any real outlets kind of back it up at some point. Jacob King writes, congrats, John and Robert. You are now both dukes in my Dungeons and Dragons campaign setting. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's nice to know I'm now immortalized in a D&D campaign somewhere. Right now, we have our D&D group is on break right now. We finished Wave Echo Cave, and we did that whole campaign. We wrapped that up, and now we're on break until the end of Game of Thrones, because our D&D nights with our group is Sunday nights, and obviously Game of Thrones is going on, so we're going to pick up our D&D group after Game of Thrones is done. But thanks for letting me know that, Jacob. Radames Riaz writes, I love you, Ashley. Keep up the good work. I'll make sure she knows that. I don't think the Netflix should be worried about Disney Plus. They create a family content that everyone could watch. Netflix creates several types of content. Yeah, but you still have to be worried. You have to be worried. Because now you don't get to have Star Wars content, and you don't get to have Marvel content, and you don't get to have Pixar content, and you don't get to have Disney content. And Disney's launching a rival service with all the MCU stuff, all the Star Wars stuff, all the Pixar stuff, all the Disney film stuff, National Geographic, originals, blah, blah, blah. And their original slate already looks really great. And if people got to make budget decisions about what they're going to go with, there's going to be a good chunk of people that decide to go with Disney Plus instead of Netflix. Netflix does have some stuff that obviously that Disney Plus doesn't have. Netflix is still the big boy on the block, but you're damn right Netflix should be worried. Not that Disney's going to come along and put them out of business, but you're talking about a company with like a 70% market share, and that's suddenly going to disappear down to about a 50. Their business is going to take a hit. Make no mistake about it. Netflix's business is going to take a hit. They're not going to be put out of business. They're not going to go under. I'm not saying that at all. They are still the big guys on the block, and they have a lot of great original content. The Crown is coming back here pretty soon. I'm really excited about that. I like The Crown. And a lot of other shows too. But to think that Netflix shouldn't even be worried about what Disney is introducing into the marketplace, I don't think that's right. I think Netflix is terrified right now. Because even if it's not about being put out of business, your market share is going to take a hit. They're going to take a hit. And that's never fun. It's never fun. All right, let's move on here. Ryan Lohner writes, on yesterday's comment, Luke Evans was also a good guy in Fast and the Furious 8 out of nowhere. I don't think Luke Evans' Shaw was all of a sudden a good guy. I think he was just on a mission. Now, maybe the mission wasn't an evil mission, but he was just on a mission. And he was doing something that his brother wanted him to do, because that's family. He's following his brother's lead, whatever. So I didn't take it at all that Luke Evans suddenly became a good guy. I didn't see that at all. I didn't interpret it that way at all. James Dolan writes, since X-Men won't be entering the MCU for 5 years, how much would Dark Phoenix have to make for Disney to continue the Fox X-Men for another few years? There is zero possibility of it. At CinemaCon in Vegas, Alan Horn, the High Lord of all things Disney movies, he was on stage and he specifically said, this is the final chapter in what has been the X-Men saga up till now. This is it. It's the final one. So this movie could be a $3 billion movie and it won't change anything. They've already got alternative plans. They know what they're doing. This X-Men universe, because of their whole continuity schmontinuity approach to things, has become a little convoluted and it's a little bit of a mess. Doesn't mean you can't still tell great individual stories in there, but it has become a little disorganized, right? But honestly, this could be a $1.2 billion film and it wouldn't make a difference. They've already made up their mind. They're moving on from it and they're going to do something new. They're going to hand it to Kevin Feige and let him run with it. So yeah, no hope for that at this point, Jason. Okay. Jay Brown writes, if Groot comes back in Endgame, which Groot would return? Well, I'd have to imagine it would be the Groot that got dusted, because the other Groot died years ago. I don't think at the end of this film, everybody who's died in the past 5 years of any cause all comes back. That first Groot died years ago doing something that had nothing to do with Thanos, whereas this Groot died as the result of the snap. So if any of them are coming back, I'm going to guess that it's Groot, but we don't even know if they're undoing the snap or if something else is happening. But my guess is the chances are the new Groot comes back. Robert Perez writes, would you recommend The City of Angels? It depends which one you're talking about. The only one I'm really familiar with is the one with Meg Ryan and Nick Cage, where Nick Cage plays an angel in Los Angeles. Go figure. That wasn't bad. It's been forever since I've seen it, but I remember liking it. But I don't remember it enough to know if I would recommend it. All I can say is I believe I remember liking it. The more I think about it, yeah, I liked it. I don't know that I loved it, but I liked it. So take that for what it's worth, Robert. Anyway, Joe Hill writes, I'm moving from San Francisco to Austin, Texas. I really like Austin, Texas. A week from Sunday. Just checked, and they have an Ipic Theater. Thanks for the recommendation. I'm so excited to check it out. Yeah, Austin's got a couple of really nice theaters there. I didn't know they have an Ipic there, but you're going to enjoy it. I certainly do. Again, it's a little bit on the pricey side, but they've also got some good Alamo Drafthouse there as well. I have my issues with Alamo Drafthouse, but they are a good movie-going experience. So, yeah, man, enjoy it. I really enjoy Austin. I think that's a really fun city. I hope you have a great time, and good on you. And I hope it's for good reasons that you're moving, and I hope your move goes really nice and smooth, Joe. Enjoy yourself. Be safe, too, with the traveling. All right, Ryan Lohner writes, Mike Mignola loves the new Hellboy. That should feel good, at least. Well, yeah, but take that with a grain of salt. He was also involved in the making of the movie. He was consulting with them the whole way, so what else is he going to say? That he hated it? I mean, I'm not saying that he doesn't like it. Maybe he does, but, that's like saying, Ryan Reynolds says he really likes his new Deadpool movie. Well, okay, that's great and everything, but take that with a grain of salt, right? So I would definitely take that with a little grain of salt at the same time. Jiri Manian writes, love the show. So, John, how hardcore of a D&D player are you? I wouldn't say I'm a hardcore player. Like, I've got some friends like Kyle Newman, right? Who, and those guys he rolls with, they're hardcore D&D players. I'm a casual player. I mean, I have my D&D group. We don't play year round. I enjoy playing D&D. I'm a fan of the game. I like just about any kind of role-playing, though. D&D is not even my favorite role-playing game. My favorite role-playing game is the West End Games D6 Star Wars system, which I've got. Can you see it? Yeah, right. Where is it? Right there. Right here. That's the core rule book for still my all-time favorite role-playing game. And honestly, it's not even because it's Star Wars. It's the West End Games D6 role-playing game system is just the best system I've ever played. It's incredibly intuitive, very easy to follow, puts the emphasis into the gameplay. It's a great system, and I love it. And you add that into the Star Wars universe, obviously I'm going to get very excited. So yes, there it is again. Star Wars, the D6, West End Games D6 system. By the way, I've seen they re-released it in a lot of stores, the original D6 West End Games version. If you can get your hands on it, I highly recommend it. But yeah, I do like playing D&D. I have fun playing it, man. But I would say I'm a really engaged casual player as opposed to a really deadly hardcore player. Mike Carlos writes, John, I know that Captain America is your favorite character, but Tony is mostly right. No, he's not. Especially when it comes to Civil War. Oh, he was dead wrong in Civil War. In the real world, anyway, the pride is basically what will happen if Cap has his way. Look, no. I have this debate with people all the time. Iron Man himself, by the end of Civil War, pretty much realizes Captain Rogers was right the whole time. At the end of Civil War, Tony realizes that Steve was right all along. Because remember, you said, no, we should submit ourselves. We should follow the government. We should do what the government tells us to do because I can't handle being the one making the mistakes and blah, blah, blah. And Captain Rogers is, I know I tried just putting blind faith in people before, and it turns out I was working for Hydra. And no, you have to do what you believe is right and blah, blah. As superpowered beings, as people with this power, we have a responsibility to do what we feel is right and not be controlled by people we don't know are an influence. And what happens? Tony says, no, we got to stand with the government. And then at the end, he realizes Thunderbolt Ross, who is the government, is telling him to do things. He's realized this is totally wrong. And what did he do? He rejected what the government told him. He rejected what the authority told him. He rejected what Thunderbolt Ross told him because he realized Cap was right. And he was going to do what he knew was the right thing to do. That's what Captain America was saying the whole time. See, to me, the argument over who is right in Civil War, Tony or Captain America, is a ridiculous debate because at the end of the movie, even Tony realizes that Captain America was right. So there's no debate here. There's no debate. Captain America was right. Even Tony would say so by the end of Civil War. So anyway, that's just kind of how I see that. Okay, let's move on here. Let's see. Tim Wood writes, different Thanos appearance in MCU fixed for release. Do you mean like how in the original Avengers at the end, Thanos' look was a little bit different than what it is now? And fixed for release? Oh, re-release. Fixed for re-release. Oh, maybe. I don't think it's that important. Like, it's not like Thanos was a 3-foot tall orange donkey-looking creature at the end of the first Avengers, and then he looked like he does now. It was pretty similar. Was it different? Yes, but it was pretty similar. Would I change it? I don't know. I think if I'm Bob Iger, I'd just tell them just leave it. I would personally just leave it. Luke Blackwell writes, over under 40%, Lion King is not as good as Jungle Book. Ooh. You know, there's always a chance. But to me, the source material, the Lion King story is just a little bit richer of a story. You got the same director who directed Jungle Book, only he learned a lot from Jungle Book and he's going to bring all those lessons to Lion King. So while I wouldn't say it's like only a 10% chance that Lion King isn't as good as Jungle Book, I think 40 is too high. So I'm going to take the under on 40% on that. I think it's a much better chance that Lion King will be better than Jungle Book. Not a guarantee, but I think there's a better chance. Ryan Lohner writes, just saw Brian's song, a must-see for anyone who wonders if Billy D is just coasting on charm like I used to. Yeah, that's the one he did with James Caan. If I'm remembering, where they're teammates and James Caan discovers he's dying. Yeah, that's an old one. I think that one was before I was born. I think that movie came out before I was born. I know they did I think there was a remake of it in the 90s. I think. Anyway, I could be wrong about that. But, oh God, I saw that movie on like VHS sometime in the mid 80s. I think I remember liking it. It's been a long time since I've seen it, man. But James Caan is also gold. To see Billy D. Williams and James Caan, I'm gonna have to go back and watch that again, Ryan. Luke Blackwell writes, would you rather have 10 episode season or a new trilogy of Star Wars episode? Would you rather have a 10 episode season or a new trilogy in Star Wars after episode 9? Oh, I'd rather a new trilogy. I always, movies over TV any day. Movies over TV any day. There's a lot of TV I love, but I will, with some exceptions, I will usually always go movies. So I would take a new trilogy of movies. Bag Studios writes, with Sony and Disney sharing Spider-Man rights, can Disney let Fox borrow characters for Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe since they own it all? Will they? Can they? Absolutely they can. They absolutely can. quite frankly, Disney can make right now. Disney can make a movie where Deadpool has a threesome with Cinderella and Snow White if they want. They own the rights to all of it. They can have Deadpool banging Snow White and Cinderella, and you know, Dumbo flies in, and then Captain America is filming it for them. I mean, they can do something totally filthy with it. So can they? Yes, they absolutely can do that. Will they? I don't think so, no. Bob Iger has made it pretty clear he wants to keep any R-rated material very, very separate from association with what's going on in their PG universe with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Bob Iger is hardcore about that, so no, I don't think they'll do that. I don't think they will. Can they? Absolutely they can. Will they? Not as long as Bob Iger's in charge. Not as long as Bob Iger's in charge. All right. Mike T54 writes, "Hey, John, sorry I missed a bunch of the shows recently. My life happened." Hey, no problem. That's a great thing about doing this stuff on YouTube, man. If you don't watch it live, you can always watch it later. So no problem, Mike. Good to have you around. Anyway, you think your Maple Leafs and my Blue Jackets are going to meet up in the second round? Hope so. I mean, you know what? I'll be honest with you. I cannot remember the brackets off the top of my head. Would they meet in the second round? I mean, I do think... Let me just look up something here. I mean, I think the Leafs, I've been predicting, you know, last year I predicted that Boston would beat Toronto in the first round, and they did because they were just the better team. Toronto will win this series. Oh God, they better. I'm going down on a limb and saying they will, but I got to admit I haven't been tracking the bracket. So, but yes, if that's who they play next, I believe it'll be Toronto Blue Jackets. So, of course, the Blue Jackets just swept the President Trophy winning Tampa Bay Lightning, which was impressive. So we'll see how that all goes. Corey Worrell writes, "Thoughts on Brie Larson snapping on Chris Evans?" That's such a non-story. Oh my, I've already talked about that once. That's such a non-story. I'm not even going to address it again. Ben Rayner writes, "Chris Evans, not another teen movie." Oh, we were talking a little bit earlier today about how when it's cool when you watch an older movie that has like someone who is a big star now that was just like a nobody at the time. That's a good one. Chris Evans in not another teen movie. Trey Wright writes, "Warner Brothers wants to make a lighthearted Flash film, but what can they give that the TV show hasn't?" Dude, it's night and day. Like when you look at the Flash in Justice League, that's a radically different Flash than the Flash you get in the CW show. Yes, they're both lighter and humorous, but there's just because something is lighter and humorous doesn't mean it's the same thing. They're completely different. There's nothing similar, very, very little similar between the Grant Gustin Flash and the Ezra Miller Flash. Totally different. Yeah, they're both funny, but they're done and the tone and everything is completely different. So yeah, they would be night and day difference. It would be a night and day difference. Ben Rayner writes, hashtag drinky poo, which is of course something that Rob said today. I got a feeling he's not going to live that one down for a while. All right, guys, that wraps it up here. We are now all done and caught up on all the questions from this morning's show version of the John Campea Show. Thank you guys to everybody who sent in questions, not just because you gave us fun stuff to talk about, but also because you support the channel while you're doing it, and I really appreciate that for all of those reasons and more. Don't forget, the John Campea Show returns again tomorrow. Make sure you come back and join us for that. That'll do it for us for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name is John Campea, and until my next video, bye-bye.